also want to say that many states agree with the amendment, and many of them agree with the amendment convention. So I think we've got 18 now that are agreeing with the amendment and 5 agreeing with the amendment convention, just for an update on stats. So I'm a member of about 28 different groups, and I'm not going to list them all, but we're basically going to be reaching out to those of you who haven't had a chance to co-sign it. You may still agree with it, and that's great. But we're going to be reaching out to you, and hopefully you'll be able to support it when it hopefully gets out of committee and gets onto the floor. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Ann Daniels, and then Joe German.
I'm Ann Daniels from Framingham, Massachusetts. Thank you, Karen, for being our senator. And I'm here to talk about alimony reform. I'll just tell you my story. I was born in 1956. My neighbor was born 2 weeks after me. We grew up boyfriend, girlfriend, and when we were in 2nd grade, we gave each other the same Valentine and said, "You have the key to my heart." When we were 11, his family moved to another state, and I did not see him for many years. When I was in my 40s, our moms were still in touch, and our moms brought us together, and that is now my husband. I thought this was a fairy tale, but I have now found that it also has a really horrible aspect. I married a man that was married before, and his wife believes in lifetime alimony. It doesn't appear that he's ever going to be able to get out of alimony. He is getting close to retirement, and it doesn't look like he's ever going to be able to retire. Both of us have been planners all of our lives, and the idea that there's an abyss in front of us where we are not going to be able to work anymore, but we're still going to have to pay a bill or a payment that is just beyond our means during that time is really frightening. To the point where my husband is not here. He's on a business trip trying to make money. And he has considered, although I don't think he would ever do it, but he has talked about suicide. I mean, it is that big of a deal to people that are in this position. If we could have an adjustment to alimony that was commensurate with what he would be making during retirement, that would be so much more realistic than what we're looking at right now. It's an abyss. Thank you.
Thank you. Joe? Peter? Can I just make one announcement, one quick announcement for those that were curious about the Framingham vote today? Framingham, effective tonight, will be a city. Ed Norris comes next, and Cynthia Listwick. I can't. Sorry, go on. Thank you.
I'm Joe Measurement from Waltham. Thank you for holding this event. I too support the We the People Act, S379, to help get money out of politics. I believe that however impartial legislators want to be, they will be influenced by the opinions of those who contribute the most to their campaigns. This is not to impugn their character, it is meant to affirm their human condition. It follows that a donor who gives $1 million to a campaign will have more influence than one who gives $100. If this is a true democracy, and we used to believe in one person, one vote, then we must do away with the current system wherein not only can unlimited funds be donated by single individuals or entities, but such donations need not even be disclosed. The status of money as speech given to it by recent Supreme Court decisions must be undone for our democracy to survive. Unfortunately, due to the uncertainties associated with politically appointed Supreme Courts, this outcome requires passage of a constitutional amendment. S379 makes an important contribution towards achieving this goal. I urge that you give it your support and give democracy a fighting chance. Thank you.
Thank you. Ed Norris. Cynthia, you here? Ann Munson. Susan Nickel?
On my way out.
Still have time.
Yep.
I'm here to support Senator Barrett's, Ann Munson from Watertown. I'm here to support Senator Barrett's bill, but more than that, climate change is a global problem. As a globe, we've done nothing together but go to war. So we have to make climate change a bipartisan issue. We cannot afford to have victories and be happy about passing something if we haven't taken as many people along with us as we can get. So I urge you to reach out across the aisle, to reach out across the states, because it's looking pretty daunting. My second thing I'd like to say is that I think back in 1988, the legislature passed a bill collecting probation fees. I think there are $50 fees for people who are coming out of prison who then have to pay to have probation. This does not seem to make sense, and since it was an act of the legislature, it seems like the legislature could act to correct this. These people are the most invisible in our society, and there's no one here, they can't represent themselves very well. So we have to remember them. Thank you.
Thank you. Susan Nickel, and then Eileen Kirkowski. Hi, Susan.
Hi, I'm Susan Nickel with the Metro West Visitors Bureau. We're a nonprofit dedicated to keeping the economy strong in the 19 municipalities of Metro West. And I want to thank the Massachusetts legislature and especially the great Metro West delegation for being so supportive of the visitor industry, and the regional tourism councils were the nonprofits that are devoted to marketing and promoting our regions with the hope of bringing more visitors here. Now, what the legislature has recognized is that the visitor industry is a really critical revenue stream for the entire Commonwealth. For example, in 1 year alone, visitors to the Commonwealth spend $23 billion, and when they do that, they're paying $1.2 billion in sales taxes and hotel occupancy taxes, and then with that $1.2 billion, the legislature can spend it on the most pressing needs of the Commonwealth. In Metro West, for example, in 1 year alone, visitors who are leisure travelers and business travelers spent $960 million, and that brought in $92 million in revenue for the Commonwealth to spend on the Commonwealth needs, and also brought in $24 million in local taxes to put towards the local community's most pressing needs. As of a couple of months ago, $3 million was cut from the visitor industry, and that's really doing is jeopardizing that $1.2 billion in revenue that can be used for the Commonwealth's most pressing needs. And when that $3 million was taken away, Massachusetts now ranks 47th out of 50 states in terms of their investment in the visitor industry. And what's happening is visitors are starting to go to other states, and the visitors are taking their wallets to the other states, which means that, again, it's jeopardizing that $1.2 billion. And we want you to be able to have that $1.2 billion to put towards the Commonwealth's needs. So I just want to thank you for your past support and future support.
Thank you. We want that $1.2 billion also. Thanks. Eileen?
Hi, I'm Eileen Kirkowski from Newton. My sign says pretty much it all. Carbon pricing, its time is now. I stayed here because there's been a lot of message about this already, but I want to know, who do I talk to sitting before me about wind energy? Whatever happened to our offshore wind project that I had read about? Who can I talk to about this? Who are you pointing to?
Why don't you be in touch with my office later on? And we have some good news to report in terms of what the Senate did last year. So.
Okay, because that's still our most, this is the most efficient bill I've heard, but to have the best wind power, which we have plenty of around here, just makes more sense to me. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Tim Brainerd, and then Jeff Manning and Pete Dunbap. You can start lining up if you want. Tim, Jeff, Pete, and then Gary Bean.
Is my voice loud enough?
Yes, it's loud enough, Tim.
Tim Brainerd, now Framingham, still in Karen's district. My points are that you start with a country of other people, by the people, for the people. That means not just middle-class folks. It also means that there is a justice component in the environment, justice in economics, and justice for racial concerns. I'm advocating this particular meeting for climate justice issues that you've already heard about. One element is the carbon pricing. I'd like to see that a good portion of that fee that's collected does go into infrastructure and innovation and not just be returned. It's not a big gain that way. I'm also a big fan of the community solar. I have cousins in New Hampshire that are allowed to do community solar. People in Boston basically cannot do community solar, but they're allowed to contribute toward the fees. And that would be climate justice. And in the long run, I believe that the budget would benefit. There would be lower energy costs. I would benefit because my energy costs in Framingham would be lower. So it's a triple win. And I believe none of those issues on the climate side would increase state costs or decrease state revenues. If anything would increase jobs in these alternative industries. You're going to get a little breathing room. There's also a bunch of issues on the rights of immigrants and others, my personal rights. I think those are revenue neutral, and there's one that might be on a revenue or a cost decreaser. The mandatory minimum sentences, if they're reduced, jail time's reduced, jail costs are reduced. So if you want to work on the budget with the revenues, with the costs, and on social justice, economic justice, and racial justice, bravo, and the Senate's been doing a pretty damn good job at this. Keep doing more, and the rest of the pressure that goes with it. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Jeff?
Good evening.
Good evening.
Jeff Manning from Shrewsbury. You still awake? I support the carbon tax. Have a good night.
Thank you. Thank you. Pete Dunbeck, Gary Bean, Yolanda Ortiz. Come on down, Yolanda. CC Doucette.
Good evening, my name is Yolanda Ortiz. I'm here from the Tempo Young Adult Resource Center, a community-based program of Wayside Youth and Family in Framingham. And I'm here asking for you to help support Senator Skoka's Juvenile Justice Omnibus Bill and the expungement of juvenile records bill. Over the past 10 years at Wayside, I've worked with hundreds of young people who are ready to make a positive change in their lives, but they often get stuck due to past records or negative experiences they faced in jail. I'm asking you to support the Juvenile Justice Bill, also known as Raise the Age, because it will help increase public safety by providing young people with age-appropriate rehabilitation and support services that they desperately need to then become successful adults and live positively and positively contribute to their communities. I'm also supporting that bill because research on adolescent development consistently shows that young people don't fully mature until their 20s, and research also finds that a majority of young people do learn from their mistakes and they mature out of criminality. I'm also supporting the expungement of juvenile records bill, and I'm asking for your support because it allows young people the chance to learn from their mistakes. Records limit a young person's ability to find secure housing, to obtain employment, and to pursue a higher education. It also gets in the way of them living productive lives. I'm asking for your support as well because all young people deserve a second chance and the resources to get back on track. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you. CC and then Jan Hasidi.
Good evening, and thank you for staying this late. My name is Cece Doucette from Ashland, and there was another woman who spoke tonight about wireless radiation and public health. For many in the audience, there wasn't a lot of clapping, and I suspect this was the first time they have heard that there are biological hazards with all of our wireless technology. I used to run the Ashland Education Foundation, and I personally ran 7 campaigns to get technology into our schools until an electrical engineer friend told me that it was biologically hazardous. I did the research. It is biologically hazardous. Other countries are far ahead of us in protecting their citizens, and I would like to express my gratitude tonight to 4 of our legislators, in particular at the lead, Senator Karen Spilka, who has a bill that will bring the right minds to the table to begin addressing this issue in Massachusetts. I would also like to extend my gratitude to Senator Sear of the Cape and the Islands, who has 2 bills in to provide labeling for all of our wireless devices, to raise the fine print that's already in every one of our manuals that says do not keep these devices on your body or you will exceed the FCC guidelines. Those guidelines are 20 years out of date. They do not protect us from biological harm. I would also like to express my gratitude to Representative Carolyn Dykema. She has a bill that would ask our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education to examine this issue and come up with best practices for all of our schools. Ashland Public Schools is the first in the nation in a public school district to even have a sign hanging on the wall that says turn off the Wi-Fi when not in use, turn off the devices so they're not emitting when not in use, and never ever keep an active device on your body. And lastly, I would like to extend my gratitude to Senator Michael Moore out in Worcester, who has sponsorship of a bill that would give folks in Worcester the right to opt out of National Grid's Smart Utility Program without penalty. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Cece. Jan Hasidi, Chris Martin, Karen Rogers, Janet Lawson, or Garrett Whitney. Anybody, any name familiar there? Nancy Rosenblum, Joan Gunfriday, Claire Wright. After Claire is Janet Bowser and Andy Rodenheiser, and then Carol Copley. Hi, Claire.
Good evening. I'm Claire Wright from the town of Hopkinton. I also have the privilege of representing the town as a member of the Board of Selectmen. Senator Spilka has already heard me on this, but since I have the opportunity to speak with all these senators tonight, I wanted to encourage your support of, I believe it is Senate Bill number 1615, put forth by Senator Michael Rodriguez, which will remove the inequitable exemption right now in local communities for commercial solar farms. And I know that there has been much discussion tonight about environmental issues. I want to make clear this is not for or against solar power. We can all agree that's a very good thing. But the way the law is written very broadly now, commercial enterprises who produce power and sell it commercially off-site are exempted from local property taxes, and this is hurting our communities. Cities and towns need their local tax revenue. We're not talking about solar produced for residences or for even use on site. These are commercial entities in towns who are not paying their fair share. And just to give one example, the town of Swansea and the case which went to the appeals board and brought us to this point, they had a 65-acre solar farm which was, because of this law, it was removed from the tax rolls to the tune of a loss for Swansea of $83,000 in local revenue just for that one farm. So we are all taxpayers here. We all understand that our communities need their local revenues. Local tax revenues are the building blocks for communities to provide their services and pay their bills. So I hope that you will fix this disadvantageous situation in the legislation and return these much needed revenues to the communities. And I will just mention, because many of my local Hopkinton residents spoke about the Eversource situation, near the Elmwood School, there is another perfectly applicable site in the industrial park right down the street. And it is a shame that the Department of Public Utilities can ride roughshod over communities, residents, and local officials. If you people can help, we really need your help
We'll look
because
into that,
it
definitely.
is just a shame. Thank you.
Thank you, Claire. Janet Bowser, Andy Rodenheiser. Yep. Hi, Andy.
Good evening. Thank you for being here this late this evening. I'm here wearing a couple of hats. Tonight I represent Medway Planning and Economic Development Board. A couple of concerns that we have are the affordable housing that we get to put into place, and we have a deed restriction on there. Sometimes folks are refinancing the properties and the banks don't do what they're supposed to do, and we end up with a situation where the home is underwater. The town has a hard time trying to retain that as an affordable unit on the books of what we've gone and worked hard to achieve. So we need some help legislatively with reform as to how that works. Second is the Community Preservation Act, which Medway has put over 100 acres in preservation, requires a restriction, whether it's conservation or historic. What's happening when we put it into a conservation restrictive, it requires a third party, like the Upper Charles River Trust or something of that nature. A lot of times they don't have the resources, and they're getting stressed from all the other communities that they serve, and so they're pushing back. They can't take it because of not having that adequate funding or resource to do it. So some type of reform in that regard would be most helpful, so that the towns, when we get land, we can do something with it and still not have to put it into a third party's trust. Lastly, I'm here representing my business, Rodenheiser Plumbing. We are a home services provider, and we have the most extreme difficulty trying to find work people that have licenses and trades. We have apprentice programs. We struggle with it mightily. We could hire 20 people if we had trade programs that were effective, and we're putting people out there. There aren't enough capacity in the vocational schools. And oftentimes, recently the sheet metal bill that was passed required education, but there's no school that's teaching enough of the sheet metal program to help get the workforce out there. Buildings like this that require air conditioning or home construction, getting those workers into the field is critical to us. I know there's a time limit.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you.
Thank you. Carol Coakley. Carol, are you here? Robert Fine. Deborah Griffin. And then we have Charlotte Simpson, James Booth. You can line up if you're here, please. Charlotte Simpson, James Booth, and Brenda Node.
Hi, I'm Deborah Griffin. I'm from Ashland. Thank you all for being here. Thank you for supporting, I saw some of your names on sponsoring these, the Freedom Agenda, Fundamental Freedom Act, Safe Communities Act, Electronic Privacy Act, and mandatory minimum repeal. I also support LGBTQ equality, also smart justice for rehabbing, diversion, and community reentry for people who have been incarcerated. And I'm also for racial justice and against racial profiling and unconscious bias and systemic racism. I was surprised that some downtown laws are still on the books in some places. I don't know if a lot of people have heard about that, but it's an example of a way that basic needs are not available to all races equally. And I request that you do all you can to change laws so people of color get equal rights to basic needs and a life-sustaining future. I also support defunding and divesting from the oil pipelines where fresh water is threatened. That's already been mentioned by a few people. And I also support sensible drug policy about the marijuana laws. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
James Booth from Belmont. Thank you all for your time this evening. Carbon pricing, please support it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Charlotte Simpson. I'm here in support of Resolve to Stop the Violence Project, which is better known as RSVP. It's a program for incarcerated violent men. If a man is in this program for just 16 weeks, he's over 80% less likely to recidivate for violence during his first year of release. So it's evidence-based, and it's been replicated. Started in California, it's now in Texas, New York, and we want to bring it to Massachusetts. For more information, please come to our briefing on April 11th in the House Members Lounge at 11:30. You'll get to hear from Dr. James Gilligan, whom I consider the world authority on violence, and ask all your questions. We have two great supporters in the House, in Representative Heroux and Jay Livingstone, and we're looking for strong support in the Senate. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Brenda Nolan, Skip Farinha, Phil Saunders, Sarah Dion. Thank you.
Thank you, Senators. Albert Farina, Rehoboth, Massachusetts. I'm here to speak on behalf of Bill H. 740, the Alimony Reform Bill. I'm asking that you get it to the floor for a vote. Really quickly, my story: I was married in 1986, separated in 2007, had a daughter in 1994, divorced in 2010. My wife was receiving $1,000 a week in alimony and child support. She's never had to work. Her boyfriend and then now partner lives with her in the house that she bought with the proceeds from the divorce. 2016, last May, my daughter graduated from college. I continued to pay child support and alimony, assuming she was still living at home. This past February, I went back to court to stop paying child support. I found out she moved down to Washington, D.C. I was expecting to stop paying child support and just have to pay the alimony. But because my wife is living with an investment banker now, she hasn't had to work. So she's never worked. She's been supported by me and her partner. I went to court and I actually had to pay more in alimony because the way the law is right now, they compare my salary and her salary, and she doesn't really work full time. She's a part-time masseuse therapist. So I negotiated paying more in alimony, but and my lawyer said, take the deal, because if it actually goes to judgment because of the disparity in incomes, you could probably pay a lot more than what they're asking for. So I left the court paying more in alimony, and I was told to be thankful. And this is going to go on forever, because the Reform Act is just not going forward. So I ask you to please support it, and all I'm asking for is my equal day in court. I'm not asking to pay less money, I'm not asking for anything, I just want my day in court so that I can show what's actually happening. Thank you very much for your time. I know it's late.
Thank you, Jessica. Phil Saunders.
Phil Saunders, Weston, carbon pricing, we need it. As a professional economist, I can advise you that the market mechanism is alive and well in Massachusetts. It works. This is the most effective way of doing anything about climate change. I encourage anybody to support Senator Barrett's bill.
Thank you. Sarah Dion, are you here, Sarah? Bridget Neal Paris, Diane Bigelow. Anybody else that did not?
Hi, thanks for being here, and thanks for letting me speak. My name is Gila Fuchsman from Natick, and I'm here to ask for your support in allowing the nurses in the Massachusetts public schools to administer CBD to children with epilepsy, like my daughter, while they're on school grounds. CBD is a non-psychoactive ingredient in cannabis. My younger child was diagnosed with epilepsy 3 years ago when she was 3 years old. Her preschool years have been filled with neurology appointments with experts around the state, including some at Mass General and Children's Hospital. We tried different pharmaceutical drugs that either did not help enough to allow her to make it through an entire school day and retain new information, or they made her seizures even worse, waking her every hour or two at night. When we could no longer increase the dose of her current pharmaceutical drug any higher because of its very dangerous side effects, we finally tried CBD oil in the product Charlotte's Web from Colorado. Thankfully, it works for her, and scientific research shows that it works for many other kids like her. We have the support and written orders of multiple doctors for her to receive the CBD at school. However, our school system refuses to administer the oil to our daughter at school, even to stop a seizure when she falls to the floor, because CBD is still classified as Schedule I according to the federal government. That means CBD is considered dangerous with no medical benefits. This classification is in direct contrast with the fact that medical experts recognize that CBD is neither. It is not dangerous, and it does have medical benefit. The school said the staff has to go by federal law because they receive federal funding. And I'm here to ask if there's anything that you and the state can do to ensure that kids in the Commonwealth can receive the medication they need to protect their brain and their ability to access education. How can we allow our school nurses to administer medication at school that is considered legal in our state and it saves our children?
Thank you very much. Is there anybody else who either did sign up and failed to hear their name, or who did not sign up that still would like to have an opportunity to speak? Okay, short of that, thank you very much. I do just want to announce that the top 2 survey results were affordable housing and climate change, and they are also trending on Twitter. So, thank you very much. We really appreciate you coming out tonight, and it really was a terrific turnout. Thank you so much. Have a great night. Safe travels.